Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's Business Spotlight. I'm your host, Todd Rodden. I'm a certified business and executive coach. I'm based here in the Dayton, Ohio area. I own Aspire Action Coach. We're thrilled to have you join us, and we are thrilled to have Dave Campbell here with us. Dave is the CEO and founder of Dolphin Hat Games. A very interesting suite of products that he's going to share with you and his journey along with his team with Dolphin Hat. So if you're a first time viewer to the series, we're thrilled to have you here. And again, encourage you to check out other videos in this series from other business leaders as well. So with that, Dave Campbell, welcome to the Business Spotlight. Take a minute, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit more about Dolphin Hat and how you got started.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Todd. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you today and talk a little bit about Dolphin Hat and our business. And ours is somewhat unique, so it's exciting to share with your folks. Dolphin Hat Games, really what we are is a game publisher. If you would think of us almost like a book publisher, we have a lot in similar with book publishing, but we're game publishers. So we make card games, board games, and most of those designs are in-house for the most part. We do have some designs that we have gotten from other designers that we have published. But what we really do is we focus in on fast casual games for families and parties and things along those lines. So I like to make really easy, accessible games for friends and families. So get kids away from screens for a little bit and have some fun, have some laughs, and have some unique moments with their family members. And we also really work hard to like make cross-generational games. So somebody that's younger can play with somebody that's older and remove barriers. So people can get together, have fun, have some laughs, and get away from screens for just a little bit and have some real fun moments. And so that's what Dolphin Hat Games. That's what we are.
Well, how needed, in our times, especially having, I have late teens now, but growing up, so much focus for our youth, especially, is on a screen, and for us adults as well. So to get us back interacting with one another, fun games, I think it's much needed. So, but why games? How did you get started in creating games and publishing games?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I love games. I love board games. I always have. Some of my best memories, some of my most fond memories from when I was young, is playing board games with my family. Playing the classics, Monopoly, Risk. I have one memory in particular of playing Risk for the first time, and it was at like a church conference, church outing, and all the guys got together and we as a group got to play Risk. And I didn't know it at the time, but I was doing the little classic hanging out in Australia strategy while
Okay.
everybody else is fighting each other. I didn't know I was doing it this way, but that's just what happened. And I ended up winning that game. And so it's you get some early success playing a game like that, and you're like, oh, I want to do this again. And I just remember being thrilled with this 2 hour long voyage into world domination. And so it just scratched the right itches for me, so I could use, whatever little bit of strategy and a lot of luck by throwing dice. And, that kind of was just a huge gateway into games for me when I was young. I also played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons during the summers when I was young. And, it's such a beautiful game. It's such an incredible game that, you know, it really sits in just everybody's mind when they play it as a pure role-playing experience. So I have great memories of playing Dungeons and Dragons, but along with the classics, Monopoly, and then card games, euchre, ERS, poker, all that other stuff, all the way back from my youth. So fast forward a little bit, I actually ran a business selling industrial supplies, welding supplies. And I got a lot of travel time, a lot of windshield times, as you do in sales. And as I would travel, I just couldn't get some game concepts out of my mind. And I'm the kind of person where my brain just kind of flares all over the place. And once I generate a lot of ideas all the time. And, I just needed to, at some point, take action on some of these game concepts. So I went back home and I got some blank cards, started scratching my own cards together, trying to put together some games, and really just kind of made some homemade prototypes of some game concepts. Most of them tended to be fairly simple. How could I augment the game of war to be a little bit more interesting? How could I change this on this game? And so I made the decision, like, hey, I don't want to go through life and not produce some of these things. I don't want to have all these ideas and not actually execute on any of them or try, right? So I put together my first game that I was going to go ahead and publish and start selling. And the whole plan for Dolphin Hat early on was I was just going to make games for my family, and put them up on Amazon to start selling them. And so that's what I did. I started Dolphin Hat. I think it was like 2014 or so, 2015, somewhere around there. And we started with my first game, which was called Bad Campaign. It was like a political party game. Really just a terrible idea, frankly. But it was a great learning experience. And it was before we had a lot of the animosity that we have now in
I
elections.
feel like we've been living that game, but I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
no, and it's really funny. That game is it's just terrible, but it was a great experience to learn how to do it, how to make something, like literally learn how to get on Illustrator, learn how to produce the cards, get connections, in the production facilities, and then learn how to put something up on Amazon, learn how to sell it to, a local game store. I learned so much. It was such a hard road, but I learned so much by doing that. And what's funny about that, just a real quick little side note about that game, is that I ended up selling through the copies of it. I did a 10,000 print run, 10,000 unit print run of that original game, and I eventually sold it. So that's great. Barely broke even, if that. But a lot of the things that I put in that game actually happened over the next few years. And like, to me, it was so outlandish when I made it, and it was really just something crazy. But I've since obviously steered the company a little bit away from that type of game, and tried to focus a little bit more, focus totally on family and family games. And that's where we are now. But yeah, that was the start of Dolphin Hat Games. After that original game concept, I came out with a couple family game concepts. One called Frog Pig Pug, which was a cute little puzzle game, and then a game called Emoji Says, which was a fun little actiony Simon Says game based around emojis. So before I started to finally actually break through, I had about 5, 6 game designs that I had published under Dolphin Hat.
Okay. And were you doing this while you still had your
Oh, yes.
plumbing and welding supplies business going on
Yeah,
as
I was
well?
welding supplies. Yeah, and I covered a fairly large territory. It was Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Western Pennsylvania. So a lot of territory there.
Okay.
And so again, significant amount of travel, but it was basically a side hustle because I like to create games, and it's, you know, looking back at that time, I didn't know. I'm glad a lot of people say this type of thing, but I'm glad I didn't know what I know now in some respects. So I'm not sure how far I would have gotten because it's such a hard business. The thing that's interesting about my business and about publishing games is, the competition that I have comes from everything from Hasbro and Mattel, which are, huge companies, powerful, uh, well-funded companies, to, my next door neighbor could come out with a game. Again, that's like book publishing. You could be like, you could have Penguin and Random House, and then you could have Larry next door come out with his game or with his novel on Amazon. So it's a really interesting and challenging business, but it's also a beautiful business and that the core of what we do is um, bring a lot of laughter and smiles to families and togetherness. That's at what's the core of my business, and enjoyable moments for families. So I'm super thankful that I took the direction that I did, and learned through some tough times, but to get to this point, which is really good. And the real breakthrough is when I came out with Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, which is our flagship game, which accounts for most of Dolphin Hat at this point, as far as sales is concerned. But that's really the way that we started, and again where we are now.
So through that journey, thank you for giving that background as well. So, and I think folks probably want to know, why Dolphin Hat? How did you come to that name?
Yeah. This answer might not be as satisfying to some of your listeners, but so I'm a huge Miami Dolphins fan. I grew up a Miami Dolphins fan, loved Dan Marino when I was a kid, so big Dolphins. And actually, I grew up in upstate New York, which is Buffalo Bills territory. And I think that's just, maybe just some tussle with my friends or whatever the case may be. But I used to love Dan Marino. And then the other piece to it is the hat, the top hat. I was always the top hat in Monopoly when I play Monopoly. So all those little tokens, I would select the top hat. My brother would get the cool race car. I'd get the top hat. My sister would get the horse or whatever, and then
Battleship. Anyway, but I love that. It's
yeah, there you go.
bringing two passions together, right? The Dolphins and your board games. All right, so I love that. So
Yeah,
you
absolutely, absolutely.
you talked about hey, you came out with kind of a different series of games, and obviously you have one that is really your flagship, the Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. How have you been able to really market and really get the word out and build your distribution?
Yeah, it's a good question. So in 2017, I did the Kickstarter for Taco Cat Go Cheese Pizza. Um, and it was a small Kickstarter. You can still see it. It was very homemade. We marketed it as the punk party game. And I think I can't remember. We had like 107 backers or something. Like we only hit like $2,500 or something on Kickstarter, but it was enough to get it funded. But I knew when I made the game that it was different. And when I say different, you could feel kind of like the pulse coming off the game. Like when you played it with people that they're like, hey, where can I get this thing? So, the product itself had a real viral, still has a real viral nature to it. Now, when families play it or groups play it, typically somebody out of that group will buy it. So that's step number one, right? Which was having a really good game. And thankful and blessed that Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, is a really good game, and it's got a good, real kind of viral nature to itself. But I did the small Kickstarter. I knew the game was better than the Kickstarter. So again, when you're starting a business, you're always placing bets on yourself, or you're placing bets on, what you're creating. And I put more money into bringing in additional inventory because my thought was, hey, I'm going to have this game. It only cost me, a small amount to produce. So I feel comfortable with using the game as a demo of itself, and giving out as many copies as I can because I needed to get the snowball rolling downhill, right? And so I got a lot of copies in. And then, it was a combination of things. I hit the street, meaning went to game stores, toy stores as I traveled, uh, brought it to board game bars, board game cafes. I would give it to them. I would put them in libraries, breweries. I would just go in like, hey, I see you guys got a board game library. Is it okay if I put this game in here? And they'd be like, yeah, 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 yeah. And with trying to get as much exposure with some guerrilla marketing as I possibly could. So I sent it blind to I think about 200 board game cafes across the country. Just put it in the mail, send it out, and just time and effort. We started to grow a little bit. Um, early on in the process, I actually got contacted, and again, this is a long-winded answer, but I'll get to a little closer to the point here. So there was a lot of legwork, but early on in the process, I got contacted by a company called VAT19, based out of St. Louis. And when I originally started selling Taco Cat, I was just going to say yes to as many people as possible, say yes to everything as I can, you know what I mean? Try to get the game as many hands as possible. Uh, and VAT19 contacted me. They're like, hey, would you mind if we sold your game on our website? We played it at a board game cafe, one of the ones I sent it blind to in St. Louis called Pieces. And they said, we really love it and we want to put it on our website. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. I'll sell you some copies, put it up. A couple weeks later, they contacted me and they said, hey, we want to do a video with this on our YouTube channel. I'm like, okay, well, I'll tell you what, let me go look at the YouTube channel first to make sure it's in alignment with, the family game company that I want to proceed, make sure it's not anything strange. And I went on their website and man, these guys were getting, 4 million, 5 million, 6 million views per video. And so, I quickly, okay, let's cut a deal here. Let's do something. So super great people. In fact, we're going to see them next week. Still work with them. But I made a deal with them, and then they did a video for Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, and it's got I think 7 million views right now for that video alone. So that went viral for us. And then at the same time, I had a mom blogger contact me who got a hold of a copy. I'm not sure where, and that went viral around the same time. And so all of my focus was going straight to Amazon sales. So when I started Dolphin Hat, I told you this earlier, is all I wanted to do is take games and put them up on Amazon. So I learned the ropes on Amazon by doing some arbitrage and some stuff on Amazon to learn how to sell on Amazon. And so when I started making my own brand, and I knew the only way I could control what I had on Amazon is by having my own brand, right? And so Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza started rising up the ranks on Amazon, and some of it was because it's a really good game, and the other part of it was I solely focused on at the time, which means that I was doing a lot of pay-per-click, advertising, a lot of aggressive spend, and accepting a little bit of burn to get it to rise up the ranks. And so no matter what anybody says, a lot of buyers, a lot of people look at Amazon and they go, hey, what are people buying on Amazon, so that they can helps make the decision on what they put in their stores potentially. And so, after a year or so of Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza rising up the ranks, we start getting some calls from some stores about placing it in some stores. And around that time, I made a deal with having some help with distribution because I was by myself, and connecting some of the dots between distribution, 3PL type service and some sales support. And we got the first large retailer that we got into was Barnes and Noble. So we got into Barnes and Noble, and then the dominoes started to fall as sales started to grow, where we got it into Walmart and Target. And, so now we're in Target, Walmart, Kroger, friendly local game stores across the country, which are very important to us too. I want to make sure that I point this out too. As much as I talk about the larger retailers, we actually have a really great network of mom and pop, smaller, which are some of the backbones of our community country, that independent toy stores, game stores, and surprisingly enough, some of the game stores. I love tabletop and tabletop gaming. I play a lot of larger games. A lot of people are sometimes surprised to hear me because I design smaller casual games, but I love large tabletop games. That Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza and some Dolphin Hat products are some of the fastest by volume sellers and tabletop stores as well. So anyways, that was kind of like the how we kind of moved the ball across, the field, to use that football analogy.
Yeah. But hey, thanks for sharing that. I mean, talk about using almost all the channels at your disposal, right? As you walk through that, I mean, you called it guerrilla marketing to start
Right.
with, which is you were going door to door almost, right,
Yeah.
hand to hand kind of thing. But eventually tapping into social media, finding the right communities, kind of the gaming community to tap into. I think you mentioned you sent it to 200 different gaming communities to help, you know, get essentially the new product out there as well. But then eventually, gradually, you know, beyond mom and pop distribution, even into obviously some of the biggest and the largest sellers that are out there. So a great way to really scale across many channels. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah,
That's
most definitely.
yeah. So through that journey and where you're at so far, what's been the single biggest roadblock that you had that you overcame, and what did you learn from it, Dave?
Roadblocks. Well, there's been quite a few roadblocks, whether they be kind of like either internal roadblocks, or external barriers. There's been quite a few. So the single largest, that's really interesting. I'm going to say that it's still somewhat exists today as still a smaller company, I guess you could say, going up against larger competition. The For us to gain space in a large retailer or in a retail space, you have to take something out, actually, and that's really challenging, right? To say, we live in the cards and dice section of a retailer, say if you walked into your local Target or a local game store and you look at, where Taco Cat Go Cheese Pizza or My Games would be positioned, they're going to be positioned next to Uno, or Skipbo, or Phase 10, classic, beautiful games, right? And or U.S. Playing Card Company will have cards there. So the challenge is, that specific section of the store, you got to earn it. You got to move somebody out to get in there, and that's a real challenge, especially when you're talking again about Mattel. That's Barbie, that's Uno, right? Hasbro, that's Monopoly Deal, that's GI Joe. That's those are big brands. That's what those are. So I present that as a large challenge, and then that is the challenge for us to how do we grow in that very challenging section of the store. But I do know if we make really fun games, the two parts of my business, if I make a really fun game, really exciting, fun, interesting game that's very accessible, and I can sell and market that game, the two pieces of my business, I got to do both of those. So if I miss it on either one of those things, it's not going to work. So I need to be able to sell and market these things, and I need to be able to create and have the space for creativity to create a really great experience for my customers.
So what are some of the key things you feature or highlight when you're having that conversation with that larger seller to earn that spot?
Yeah. So, most of it, is like, hey, you know, in this section of the store that is very challenging, you've not seen growth in 20 years. Okay. My game or my games are showing the most growth that we've seen in decades. So it's a compelling story, right? For somebody that's looking to, that's being held to these numbers and these statistics in their store or whatever the case is. But also it goes to the smaller mom and pop customer, and where somebody that comes up to our booth at a trade show or comes up to us and says, hey, I sell these war games, and I sell these large tabletop games. They don't, customers don't want a slapjack style game. And you know my whole thing is like, they do, like, because when they come in, they're not necessarily buying for themselves. Maybe they're buying for Susie or Joe's birthday. Maybe they want to play a casual game before they play the big war game. I know that I do. Like, I know that I want to play a quick casual game either after I play D&D or after I play Wingspan or something, or maybe I'm waiting for somebody to play Settlers of Catan, and then we're just going to play a quick round of this fast casual game. And so that's when I, lay out hey, might be surprising, but your competitor in the next town over, or not your competitor, but your friend the next town over took a chance on Takaguchi's Pizza, and now it's his highest seller by volume. So it's a real compelling story too, all the way from small all the way up to large. And so, a lot of folks, talk about a little bit of disruption. That's kind of what we're talking about, right? Is disrupting our small segment of the gaming industry.
Hey, hey, thank you for sharing that specific example, how you have that talk off and how you do that positioning with different types of sellers.
Yeah.
So you've shared your story starting really as yourself as kind of a side hustle, and then grew obviously much bigger than that. Now you've got a team. So how do you think about team now, and how do you as a leader kind of guide, nurture, and develop your team?
Yeah, that's also a very good question, and it's actually a very timely question for us right now. So we're growing. We're in growth mode right now. And as you know, Todd, I mean, that brings all kinds of interesting challenges, pain points, but learnings and opportunities. And right now we see it as an opportunity where I've been working hard to bring in folks that are experts in their sections of what they do. We just recently brought in a new chief marketing and sales officer from a larger industry, outside industry, to bring in some real insight for our consumer packaging and marketing efforts. So what we're doing is restructuring Dolphin Hat right now, frankly, moving away from a guy in the basement in Dayton, Ohio, to now, again, still small, but a 10-person company. And we still have a lot of room to grow. There is pressure on us to grow, and we're trying to do it in a measured way so we can be as effective as possible. I know that goes a little bit anti some modern thought about grow as fast as possible and, et cetera, et cetera. But through some life experiences and seeing outside businesses, I'd like to try to grow, measure in a measured way, and not get out over my skis. But putting the right people in the right places is what we're doing right now. And we were actually gone through a process internally here at Dolphin Hat, where we've taken a look at all of our processes and trying to put the right pieces in place and get the right structure. So as we come out with these great new games and we have these great new opportunities in front of us because of the strength of our brand and the strength of our IP, that our businesses and our company is strong and set up in a strong fashion. We're always going to be smaller than, obviously than the Hasbros and Spin Masters of the world. But with a small but mighty force, there's a lot that we can do to, be very competitive with those folks.
Hey, thanks for sharing that background on how you're looking at the team differently as you continue to grow and your plans grow. So that points to the future. What's your vision? Where do you see Dolphin Hat, 3, 5 years down the road?
Yeah, I mean, my sincere hope is that we continue to make really engaging games, really make incredible fun experiences for families, and continue to champion all of our customers, whether it be the end user customer, the family that's spending their hard-earned dollars on my games, but then also, to our retail partners to make sure that, I've got games that are selling well for them. But what I'm looking at specifically for Dolphin Hat Games is, can we grow? Can we grow in a measured way where we can dominate our sections of our gaming industry, which right now is like what could be termed a golden age of board games and gaming in general. But can we carve out our brand identity and grow into different sections within the gaming industry? And frankly, I'm not even sure where that leads completely, but I know that if we can continue to make really great games and sell really great games and continue to cultivate our brand, and what I can see is, you go into a store and you see a line of Dolphin Hat games.
Yeah.
and the cards and dice. And then you go over to the family strategy, and you see a line of Dolphin Hat games. And you look at them and you go, I know what company that's from. I love that game, and I can tell this next one is from that same company, and I know I'm going to like that one. So I can make the decision-making process easy, and I know that we can be a champion for game night at the family level. So, somebody that's, working hard and wants to have a good time with their family on Friday night, they can go into a store and they can look at a game and know it comes from us, and they're going to pick it off the shelf because they know they're going to be able to learn it in a couple minutes, and it's only going to take them about 15, 20 minutes to play. I can have some laughs with grandma and with Jimmy and with Julie, and we can, can't wait to play it again, that. And then just make sure that I structure the company here internally that we are top level customer service, and that we're easy to buy from, and that we're a friendly company that does things the right way. And like I said, all doing that without getting out over our skis.
Okay. And still having time for the CEO to play games as well.
Play games and make games. But the one thing about that is, and then it is a chuckle on it, because it's actually it's a funny thing, a little quick side thing here, Todd. It's funny, people that I do bring in, hire people, and the first couple weeks starting at Dolphin Hat, because you come in and it's hard when you've been in a different company, or you've been in, and I get this, that when you see people playing games, during the day, and, we're working on a game and we're playing some kind of crazy game, that it doesn't quite feel like work, and you feel like you should go do something else, like you should go do an email or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, this is the business. This is the business.
I'm doing research. I'm not
Yeah,
playing.
no. It's hard to kind of convey that point, but after a while, people start getting it. I remember my dad, bless him, when I started Dolphin Hat, we were in a small little office here in Dayton. He walked in, I was playing cards with one of my first employees, and I was playing cards. He looks over, looks down at me, looks up. He's like, I guess that's what you do now, huh? I'm like, yep, that's what I do now.
That's my boy. So Dave, as we get close to wrapping up here, so what have you been your keys to success, and that you'd want to reiterate with those other entrepreneurs who are tuning into this?
Yeah, it's such a rewarding thing, building a business. I think the hardest thing for most folks is taking the leap and actually trying. Most people don't, like you get so many things in the way. And I think the point that I could, just bring to folks is try. If it's in your heart, if it's in your mind, try. There's so many opportunities out there to build a business, especially these days. Like, I feel like there's a lot of opportunities for a lot of neat businesses, maybe that don't happen because someone just couldn't take the leap. I get it. There's a lot on the line. I have 4 kids, but at some point, you've got to try, and take that leap. And in the world that we're at right now, there's just so much opportunity for better customer service, or better products, or whatever the case may be. I think it's just a world full of opportunity for potential businesses, or potential new creations. I thoroughly believe in creativity, and doing things in a creative way, and bringing new cool things. And a lot of people, even if it's like not a creative endeavor, there's actually creative ways that you can maybe bring better customer service, or build a better company, or build efficiencies. And all of that it can be gamified, right? So
Okay.
so yeah, I had it early on too.
Turn it into a game,
And
right?
actually, early on
Yeah.
in Dolphin Hat too, I was talking with one of my friendly competitors, and after the conversation, I was thinking about our conversation and about the way he built his business, and it struck me as like, oh, you know what? He's playing a game. Even the way I was talking to him, like everything was all gamified, and it kind of helped me to kind of think about it in terms of my business too. It's not, I mean, I understand it's very serious, but there's gaming components, game theory, everything is involved in this. And so, it kind of helped me in my mind kind of figure out like, oh, you know what, if I can structure these things and thinking about it as a game, it actually helped me a little bit.
So Dave, as we look to that's fun way to look at it, right? And plays to your obviously to your strengths, to your core
Yeah.
abilities. So as we wrap up here today, what are the best ways for folks to follow Dolphin Hat and stay connected with the business and what
Yeah,
you guys have going
definitely.
on?
So the best ways would be, all the channels, which would be, of course, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Dolphin Hat Games, or you can actually more likely find us under Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza. So if you just pop in Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza, it's a little bit easier to find us, and you'll see some of our crazy videos of us playing this hand slapping card game. And then, you can find most of our products or in most major retailers, and then also your friendly local game stores. So anywhere from Target, Walmart, Amazon, Kroger, Meyer, like I said, your friendly local game store, you should be able to find some Dolphin Hat games. We got some cool new ones coming out too. I just want to point out real quick since you got me on the horn here, Todd.
Sure.
We have a really fun game called Moose Match Mayhem. I'm very excited about. It's going to be going next to Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza and a lot of our retails. It is like the fastest set collecting card game in the world. So I'm super excited about it. It's called Moose Match Mayhem. That and Wild Wild Taco. And then we've also got a poolside edition of Taco Cat Goat Cheese Pizza coming out, which is more durable card, plasticized card. So you can take it to the camping, to the beach, et cetera, et cetera. So we got a lot of cool things coming out.
Okay. All right. Uh, thanks for sharing that. Final question. What are you inspired by today?
Actually, it's a very timely question. At the office today, we had a homeschool group that came in and played some games. So absolutely inspiring me is to have some kids in here playing the games and laughing and having fun, with their family. I mean, just to see it, to hear, people playing a game that you create, laughing, you know what I mean, and slapping the table and doing all these crazy things. Man, it's very gratifying. And I'm very thankful that I have the opportunity to create these games and to get them into people's hands and hopefully create some lasting memories for folks. And so it's been a wild blessing to be able to have that opportunity, because I know everybody doesn't have it. So I'm very thankful for that, to bring some smiles. And I find it very inspiring.
Um, Thank you for sharing. Yeah, great way to lift up the day, right? And does bring home why you do what you do, right? So,
Exactly.
well, thank you, Dave, again for sharing your story. Great entrepreneurial story, following your passion. Starting with that side hustle, and now the business. You got, selling through all the largest retailers, 10 person staff, and even more to come. So, and encourage our viewers, check out their current offerings as well as some of the new products. Hey, it's summertime right now, so a great time to spend time with the family, kind of put the devices down, and meet over a table and have some fun here. So again, Dave Campbell, thank you for sharing your story to our viewers. Again, we encourage you to go ahead and like this episode here, as well as subscribe to the channel so you can hear other messages from inspiring leaders like Dave Campbell that you heard today. So thank you again, and I hope you all have a terrific day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Todd.